The screams tore through the night. Desperate mothers tried to hide their children, but the soldiers advanced without mercy. The steel of their swords gleamed under the moonlight. Innocent cries mingled with the sound of the Nile's waters. Waters, meant to bring life, but now turning into a graveyard. Egypt was the most powerful nation of the ancient world. Golden palaces, colossal temples, an invincible army. But behind this grandeur, a people groaned under the weight of slavery. The Hebrews labored without rest, whipped like animals, forced to build monuments for a king who saw them not as men, but as mere tools of his glory. Pharaoh feared their growth. He saw their strength increasing, their families multiplying, and, in the heart of a man who saw himself as a god, fear turned into cruelty. Every Hebrew boy that is born must be thrown into the river. And so began the massacre. Homes were invaded, cradles overturned, powerless parents watched in horror as their children were torn from their arms. But in the midst of this darkness, a woman refused to accept that fate. Her name was Jochebed. For 3 months, she hid her baby. Every muffled cry, every cautious step, every sleepless night, everything to protect him. She knew she couldn't hide him forever. The danger was closing in. So, in an act of faith and desperation, Jochebed prepared a small basket of reeds, sealing it with tar and pitch so it would float on the water. With trembling hands, she placed the baby inside and, with tears streaming down her face, pushed the basket down the river. Lord, take care of him. Lead him where no man can reach him. The river that devoured so many lives now carried a destiny that would change history forever. That same day, Pharaoh's daughter was bathing in the Nile. Her eyes caught something floating among the reeds. Curious, she approached, and when she opened the basket, she saw the baby. His bright, innocent eyes seemed filled with a greater purpose. It's a baby. The princess knew he was a Hebrew, a child of slavery. But in that moment, nothing else mattered. I will raise him as my own. His name will be Moses, for I drew him out of the water. The boy condemned to death was adopted into the house of his enemies. He would grow up in the golden halls of the palace, never imagining he would one day return to free the people he truly belonged to. Years passed. Moses grew as a prince of Egypt. He wore fine linen, learned from the greatest masters, and wielded swords with skill. But something inside him didn't fit. One day, as he walked by Pharaoh's construction sites, Moses saw an Egyptian brutally whipping a Hebrew slave. The sound of leather tearing flesh mixed with cries of pain. Moses' blood boiled. That man was like him. In a burst of anger, he struck the Egyptian overseer. When he came to his senses, the man was dead. The next morning, Moses heard whispers among the slaves. And now will Moses kill us too? He had been found out. Soon Pharaoh would know. With no choice, Moses fled to the desert. He ran from everything he knew, not knowing where he was going. Days turned into weeks. He wandered without strength, without hope, until he found shelter in Midian, where he was welcomed by Jethro, a priest of the desert. There, Moses found peace. He married and had children. Egypt seemed like a distant past. But God was not finished with him. One afternoon, while tending the flock, something caught his attention. Among the rocks, a bush burned with fire, but was not consumed. He approached, intrigued. Then a voice echoed from the flames. "Moses, Moses!" "Here I am," he answered. "Take off your sandals, for the place where you stand is holy ground." It was God. "I have seen the affliction of my people. I have heard their cry. Now go to Egypt and set them free." Moses hesitated. "I am just a shepherd. How can I face a king? Who am I to deliver Israel?" "I will be with you," said the Lord. Moses returned to Egypt. He entered the palace that once was his home and stood before Pharaoh. "Thus says the Lord, let my people go." Pharaoh laughed. "Who is this God that I should obey him?" Then God showed his power. The Nile turned to blood. Swarms of flies covered the land. Frogs emerged from the rivers. Locusts devoured the crops. But Pharaoh's heart remained hardened until the final plague. That night, the angel of death passed through Egypt. The firstborn of every household died, even Pharaoh's own son. He fell to his knees defeated. Go, take everything, never return. Israel departed. But in the distance the sound of galloping horses approached. Pharaoh had changed his mind. Before them stood the Red Sea. Behind them, the Egyptian army. The people cried out in terror, but Moses lifted his staff. Do not be afraid. The Lord will fight for you. The wind blew, the waters parted. Israel crossed on dry land. The Egyptians pursued. But as they reached the middle of the sea, Moses lowered his staff. The waters crashed down. The world's most powerful army vanished beneath the waves. Slavery was left behind. Moses led Israel through the desert to Mount Sinai. There God made a covenant with his people and gave them the 10 Commandments. But the Hebrews rebelled. They made a golden calf. God wanted to destroy them, but Moses interceded, Lord, forgive them. Years later, Moses stood on Mount Nebo gazing upon the promised land. He knew he would not enter. There, in peace, he rested. His name was never forgotten, because God does not choose the strongest. He strengthens the chosen. The story of Moses does not end with his death. His legacy crossed centuries, kingdoms, civilizations. The boy condemned, the prince who fled his home, the shepherd who doubted his calling, became the man who defied an empire and saw God's glory as few in history have. He was not perfect. He made mistakes. He was afraid. He failed many times. But God does not choose the perfect. He chooses the willing. Moses obeyed. He believed. He trusted, even when everything seemed impossible. That's why his story didn't stay in the past. Moses lives in the faith of those who dare to believe, in the courage of those who face their fears, in the hearts of those who understand it's not their abilities that matter, but the God who empowers them. And today, this story may speak directly to you. Maybe you feel small, incapable, tied to a past of mistakes or doubt. Maybe you've tried to run from your calling, just like Moses did. But God still calls. He still speaks. He still parts seas and writes stories through ordinary people. And the question that remains is, are you ready to listen? God has plans for your life, and when he calls, he opens the way, strengthens the weak, and equips the chosen. If this story spoke to you, don't let this message stop here. Like this video, subscribe to the channel Minutos Sagrados, and activate the bell so you don't miss any content like this. And there's more. On the screen now are other videos that will strengthen your faith. Click and continue this journey. May God bless your life, and we'll see you in the next video.